Welcome to Stop Overthinking, the podcast for overthinkers, people pleasers, and perfectionists who want to feel calm and confident enough to handle whatever life sends your way. I'm your host, Kristen Odegaard, a women's life and mindset coach, lifelong educator, and recovering perfectionist. Touch point of values as well. So for the first part, I just wanted to share with all of you a little update about me and what's going on. You've been listening to me for over a year, and I'm so grateful. So it's always interesting as a podcast host and sharing some of my personal experiences, like where is that line between what's personal and what is oversharing with an audience. And that's something that I've really been trying to figure out these last couple of months. And there have been some health issues with one of my children, and that has just really been a big burden. And I struggle with, how much to say and what to do, because that's their story, not mine. But what's my story with all of this is it has been really stressful and feeling like a burden. And so this has been going on essentially since September, was really kind of deep in the trenches most of the winter months for me. And essentially we're kind of on an upswing with some things with my child. But for me, it really kind of sent my nervous system and my stress response back into overload. So I have done years worth of work and coaching and things that I've talked about. And it kind of sent me into a spiral, just in the sense of feeling out of control with the situation and other people that I couldn't control. This was from my children, from my ex-husband, and how he was co-parenting or not co-parenting in my mind and handling the situation. And there just became so many things for me that I thought I had worked through because I had worked through. But what I recognized is this is really a journey. And I was kind of thinking some of these situations were more like end games. And it's like, oh, here we go again. One of those with the cortisol response, and I did have testing done, and my cortisol is literally off the charts. My adrenal glands are working overtime. Hormones are on the whack. And I'm fortunate of having some practitioners that are really working with me, and we're trying to get there. But part of, trying to reduce your stress level when you are in a situation that you don't control. Here's a minor child, and there were all sorts of things going on with hospitalizations and multiple doctor's appointments and all of these pieces that I'm trying to respond to using all of my skills. And I wouldn't say that my stress level was normal or regulated prior to this. I think it had been heightened for years and years, and this just blew things up. And so the hormone responses that I've had, I have gained quite a bit of weight, which for me has been so uncomfortable and brought back all of the body image issues that I'm dealing with. And it's because that's how my body is processing. I have had to completely change my workouts. And it seems almost counterintuitive, because when your stress levels are high, where I'm at right now, the hard-hitting workouts, the hard cardio workouts, HIIT kinds of things are actually more harmful than they are good. And so it's about walking and heavy lifting, but keeping that set so my body has some time to recover. I've really had to try and get into more somatic kinds of practices, working with breathing and sound healing and some of more of the energetic practices that I was familiar with in some cases, but I'm trying new things. And I can tell how elevated my stress levels are because the thought of being quiet and doing yoga is so unappealing, right? And inner peace is something that I really value. And I can completely recognize right now that I'm in almost like a functional freeze state, that I get done what I need to get done. And everything else is like, nope. It was a beautiful weekend this last weekend, and the paint is flaking on my deck. I have known this for a month, and I choose to sit in a chair and read a book and look at it rather than sand it to refinish it, which I know has to happen. This has happened multiple times. Like, I can't, my body is just not in a state to do some of these things. So I'm sharing this with you as just, hey, this is me. I'm honest with a lot of the stuff that I talk about, but also some of the interviews that we have coming up. You will hear me talk more about some of these things, and some of the practitioners that I've reached out to. Tasha Stevens, who is coming on next week, is a hormone specialist, and we get into the nitty gritty of, I have loved talking with her. I've got another episode lined up about self-care that is truly about meaningful little nuggets of self-care that you can do that are not about manis and petties and getting your nails done. And I love the analogy that there's going to be some of those kinds of episodes coming your way as well. And you will hear me again talking about, hey, what is working with some of these things that I'm trying, because I know people are at different places in their journey. And sometimes you can intellectualize, like the coaching that we're doing right now. You can process emotions, and sometimes you might need something different. And so I'm kind of in this phase too of experimenting with some different types of modalities. And when it's relevant, I'm going to be bringing those to you. So that's me in a nutshell. Thanks for listening. I do want to share a takeaway with you today, though, as well. And this will be short and sweet, too. I talk so much about our values, right? That it's a values-based approach, that when you are clear on your core values, other things line up more easily. Doesn't mean you don't have to make decisions. It doesn't mean that life is easy, right? But you know that it's easier to budget when you're really clear on what you're doing. Like right now, I know that my health is a priority, and that means that I am spending money that's out of pocket, that isn't covered by insurance, because this is something that works for me, and I know that. That makes sense and is in alignment with me. There are also other things with my family that's been really important. And so there are times where work or my schedule will change, because I am also going to prioritize my family and my family's health and what we need beyond these other things. Okay, so I've done a lot of work figuring out what my values are. I have exercises that I work with clients with, and you can go back and do that. There are ways to kind of figure this out, and I encourage you to revisit this in different periods of your life. But I really like this process that I just heard recently from another coach in terms of uncovering your values, or as a way to check in and see if these values still resonate with you. It's fairly simple. What you do is, when you are in a moment that is in flow for you or joyful, that just feels really good, okay? Or think back to a time when that just felt really good to you. As you are in that spot, even in your mind, if you're just going back to that spot, notice who is with you. What are you doing? What are you not doing? What are the smells? Just kind of taking all of that in. Because what you are noticing are the things that are important to you, the things that resonate to you. So I love being outside. I love feeling the sun on my face. This time of year for me, I'm always on random walks in neighborhoods, smelling lilacs, looking at the flowers coming out. For me, that is about connection. It's about feeling at peace with nature, with the world, and being able to just ground myself. That's important. For other people, maybe it's who you're with. And that means that connection is really important to you. It could be a certain activity that you like doing. And what does that mean to you? Is it because it's really important for you to move your body? Is it because that you enjoy that activity? Is it the people that you're with? Is it the place in which you engage? So notice those, because that is another way to dial in on your values and your priorities. The second piece of this is when you can recognize you're in those moments where this is really meaningful to me, to also notice the feelings that are there. Because sometimes a core value can be feeling a certain way. Like I had mentioned to earlier, that mine is inner peace. So that's a feeling that is really important. And lots of things bring me to that. So it might be about feelings. It might be about tangibles in terms of people or place or connection. But take some time. You can even journal on this. You can think about it and really dial in what's important. And then how can you bring that into other places in your life that are just little moments? If it's about the people and the connection, where do you need to add more connection into your life? For me, if it's about inner peace, I know that there are certain smells that will just evoke that for me. So I can use essential oils or candles or things in my house that just bring me joy when I might otherwise be doing other things. So take time, appreciate those moments, really dive into why it's important, and ask yourself why a couple of times. Why is this important to me? What do I make this mean? And then how can I take some of the underlying emotions and thoughts and feelings and apply this to other places in my life? And from there, it's easier to make those decisions. It's easier to decide who you want to spend time with and who you don't want to spend time with, to put up those boundaries if you need be, to say no in other places, to bring stuff into your life that you want more of. So thanks for listening this week. I hope that you will listen in the next couple of weeks with some of the guest episodes. As always, there are going to continue to be solo episodes, and I love to hear from you. If you have a topic that you want me to cover, or if you want to even give me a scenario, you can email it to me, voice memo, direct message, any of the places that you can find. Send me your scenario and I will talk about it as well. I want to make this relevant to you. One episode that I would really like to do is just kind of a Q&A from listeners on different questions that they have. So I need those questions from you. Send them in and I will get that into an episode as well. So if you are in the US, we're coming up to Memorial Day weekend. I hope you enjoy the long weekend, that you are able to find some peace and joy, whatever that is, as you go into that. And I will be back with another episode next week. Thank you for listening to the Stop Overthinking podcast with Kristen Odegaard. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone else who would benefit from the message. To learn more about working with me and links to social media and free resources, head over to my website, coachwithkristen.com. That's Kristen spelled Kristen. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. Have a great week.